Hello, I'm Armin Budish. Welcome to Golden Opportunities.
Today, on the 10th anniversary of 9/11, we'll hear a survivor's personal story. Then, they say you are what you eat, so we've dished up delicious tips for a healthier you. We'll list the ABCs of RMDs, plus the latest news on preventing prostate cancer and how to ensure you get those life insurance proceeds.
It's time to get GOing, so pull up a chair and join us at our kitchen table for Golden Opportunities. There's no easy transition to this next subject. The terrorist attacks of 9/11 took place 10 years ago today. I'm sure you, like me, can picture exactly when and how you heard the news of that first plane. The plane flew into the North Tower of the World Trade Center. We watched from afar. But George Slay pictures himself on the 91st floor of that tower, looking up to see a plane headed straight towards him. We're grateful he survived that day, and that he's here to share his story with us on this solemn anniversary. Thanks for joining us, George.
Good to be here. Thank you.
Why were you in the World Trade Center?
Well, I had worked in Manhattan for about 18 years, the last 10 of which were in the World Trade Center.
And you were working that day?
I was working that day, yes.
So tell me, the plane is coming right at you and you actually see it coming when you're in the building?
Actually, I was on the phone at the time. I wasn't looking out of the window, but heard the loud roar from outside the building, turned around in my chair, and I could see the plane almost into the building immediately upon seeing it.
What did you think was happening?
I just assumed it was off course, something. I didn't consider that it was a terrorist attack at that point. I just assumed it had gotten off course.
So you ran to the stairwell?
Yes, the plane came into the building about 25 feet above my head, and immediately my office collapsed around me.
Oh my gosh.
But I was able to crawl out of that space, and we knew that we needed to get out of there as quickly as possible. There were 3 stairwells available. The first one was inaccessible. The second one, the door was blocked, it was full of debris. And the third one was blocked above us, but it was open for us to walk down.
And that's the one you went down?
And that's the one we went down, yes.
All right, so how long did it take you to get down?
Probably close to an hour.
An hour?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow. And were people running down the stairs? What was going on?
No, it actually was quite calm. There was very little panic. Not too many people knew what was going on, I don't think. And never assumed, of course, that the building would collapse.
Did you see any firefighters or police officers?
As we got further down, almost to the bottom of the building, we saw some of the firefighters coming up, which was a vision that's just burned in my brain till this day.
What time was it that you were there that this happened?
The plane hit the building about 8:45, and by the time we got out of the office and down to the ground floor, it was probably about 10 o'clock.
And when you hit the ground floor, something happened at that point. Tell us about
Yes,
that.
I was on my way out of the building. I was still inside the building on the concourse level, walking away, and I heard a loud explosion to my right, and I looked around, looked up and saw a huge amount of debris flying towards me, and I started to run, and immediately upon starting to run, this blast caught up with me, threw me across the concourse, and the lights all went out at the same time.
And what was the blast?
The blast, I was to find out later, was the collapse of the South Tower.
Wow. So that tower got hit second, but collapsed first.
That's correct, yes. Mm-hmm.
Were you hurt?
No, I didn't realize that initially, but as I walked away from the building with 2 other men, walking away up to Broadway, and a police officer stopped me and said, "You need medical attention," which I was not aware of, and he said, your pant leg is soaked in blood, and my right pant leg was soaked in blood. Got me into an ambulance right away, which took me over to the Beth Israel Hospital on the Lower East Side of Manhattan.
You made it there okay?
I made it there okay, and I got there about 10:30, which was about the time that the North Tower collapsed. Yeah, there was very little traffic around. It just seemingly everyone was out of the way, and we got there in good time.
When did you first learn that it was actually a terrorist attack and
well,
not an
actually,
accident?
the attendant in the ambulance told me what had happened about the second plane flying into the South Tower and the rest of the story. And initially, I thought it was just an accident, but obviously it was more than that.
And the plane hit 1 floor above you?
Well, it was about 2 or 3 floors above me, about 25 feet, yes.
Okay, and everybody in your floor get out okay?
Yeah, there were 12 of us there at that point, and all of us escaped. And I was to find out later that no one above the 91st floor survived.
Wow. Has this changed your life in any way?
Yeah, it just made me thankful for my life, and just I thank God daily for sparing me and allowing me to continue to live, and allowing my family to not have the grief that so many families experienced.
Is it hard for you to come on the show and talk about your story?
No, I do it regularly.
Really?
Not on the show, but to a lot of people. I think almost since I moved back to Ohio, probably about 100 times I've talked to various groups.
Have you suffered in terms of nightmares and recurrences?
You know, that's the amazing thing, not once.
Really?
Never, not once have I had a nightmare or seen a plane flying at me.
Well, you're a blessed man, George. Thank
Sure
you for
am.
coming
Thank you.
in and joining us today.
Thank you.
As our viewers know, at this point I always try to close my interviews with a summary, but today I think the most meaningful conclusion would be for me to simply thank you, George, and for all of us to pause to remember all the precious lives that were lost.
Next, a healthy serving. But first, before bowling, people played 9 pins. Why did the extra pin get added? We'll spare no efforts to get the answer when we return.
We're Gateway Title, keeping life simple. We can make it simple. We've got everything you need. See how easy selling your home can be. We're Gateway Title. We're keeping life simple.
Lawmakers passed a law to strike down 9 pins because the game inspired gambling. But since the law didn't ban all bowling, by setting up 10 pins, bowlers could keep on rolling and betting. Doesn't the answer just bowl you over?
Just talk to me. Enjoying a great meal is something we never outgrow, especially me. But as we age, we may need to change our menus to serve up the right nutrition. Marianne Fisher is here with the best ingredients to make a delicious and healthy diet, and those two actually can go together. Marianne is a registered dietitian with the Rehabilitation and Health Center in Akron. Thanks for joining us, Marianne.
Thank you.
All right, so Marianne, are you saying when we hit 50 or 60, do our diets have to change? Do things change for us?
Yes, even if you have been eating a healthy diet in your 30s and 40s, sometimes your metabolism slows down, your body mass decreases, so you don't need as many calories, so you have to eat more efficiently.
And you were saying that things change, like the food may taste different. I mean, is that true?
Yes, you know, as we're aging, on the outside there's visible changes of, or visible signs of age, and on the inside things are becoming less efficient too, and our taste buds get a little bit dull. You might need to spice up your foods a little bit more, add more herbs and spices.
Our digestion changes too. That I can attest to.
Yeah, it does. It gets a little bit slower. Sometimes you can't digest certain components of your food, like lactose, for instance. You might need to get some help with some Lactaid or some Lactaid pills.
Now, you've brought a whole lot of examples of things, and I want to go through that. This is what we should be eating for our diet?
Right.
All right,
all
start
at the
us.
same time.
Tell us what, all at the same, good.
Well, actually, like with the digestive changes that you have, you know, even consistencies of food may need to change. And digestion does begin in the mouth. I do want to say that to older folks, to younger folks too. You need to chew your food well. If you have poor dentition, you're going to need to make your foods a little bit softer. And if you have dentures and you've lost a lot of weight, you're going to need to get those refitted. So that will be helpful. But eating the foods that are higher in calcium tend to be a good thing for people in this age group to think about, because osteoporosis is a unique type of a condition for
these
this age
items
group.
that have calcium?
Right. And typically you would think of, I could have a glass of cow milk there, and I think most people are familiar with that, or some cheese. Cottage cheese, those are obvious sources, but we've got fortified cereals and other types of milk like almond milk, soy milk, and even calcium fortified orange juice. Dark green vegetables are also a wonderful source of calcium if you don't eat animal products as well.
How much calcium is in chocolate chip cookies?
Well,
which is one of my favorites. Just joking.
If you're having that with a glass of milk, I'm sure that'd be great.
Okay, what's our next category?
Well, we were also going to talk, well, I do want to say too, if you're taking calcium, either a supplement or in your food, make sure that you're getting vitamin D with it, and that helps to absorb it. And a lot of people in Northeast Ohio, none of us are surprised, are low in vitamin D in our bodies. So then we move on to needing B12 in our diet. That helps to increase your metabolism. It also helps with red blood cell development. Is kind of low in seniors sometimes, and that primarily is found in animal products.
Right, so that's like the tuna you got here?
Right, animal products like the dairy products again, or your animal meat. But if you are not a meat eater, and some people say it's too expensive to eat this way, you can again get B12 in a supplement form. You can get your bread, your grains can be fortified with B12, as well as your cereals.
All right, and then, so it's okay to eat carbs?
It is okay to eat carbs. In fact, carbs are your body's preferred source of fuel, and people should not be carb-phobic. They should just be concerned about how much they are eating, and they may need to decrease other things in their diet to get their calories right, but you want them to be whole grains, and there's some wonderful products on the market, and they are high in fiber, and you want to look on the label and see if they have maybe 4 grams of fiber or more to know if you're getting a good fiber source.
Great. And last question quickly. Do we eat less? Are we supposed to be eating less as we get older, or can we eat the same amount?
That's a good question. If your body is losing muscle mass, your metabolism is decreasing. If you are not as active, you don't need as many calories. But at this age, you should have more time to exercise. You should be out there doing a lot of cardio activity, 30 minutes a day.
Should, that's the key word.
Right.
Not necessarily
So-
do. Okay.
So adjust accordingly.
Thank you. All right. These tips for healthy eating are pretty easy to swallow. My thanks to Mary Ann Fisher for feeding us such helpful advice, and now I get to have my cookies.
For more information, call the Rehabilitation and Health Center at 330-564-4100 or click to www.rhchealth.com. Next, FYI on RMDs. Looking for places to go, things to do? Welcome to our community calendar. The Akron Art Museum is paging all book and art lovers. You're invited to attend a book club discussion on the novel An Object of Beauty, written by comedian, actor, and author Steve Martin. The story follows a young, ambitious art dealer. Does this fictional work really paint a true portrait of the art world? To find out, join museum staffers and special guest art insiders on Thursday, September 15th at 6 p.m. for a lively discussion. To brush up on the details, call 330-376-9186, extension 221, or read all about it on their website, www.akronartmuseum.org.
In kindergarten, you learned your ABCs. In retirement, you need to learn your RMDs, required minimum distributions. Jim Lineweaver's here to spell out the specifics. He's a certified financial planner with the Lineweaver Financial Group. Thanks for joining us, Jim.
My pleasure.
All right, so RMDs are letters, but really required minimum distributions are really more like a math problem, right?
They are, and you got to get it right. You can't fail this test because if you do, the penalty is really big. So what happens is every time you get all this tax deferral through your life, build some good retirement plans, whether it be through annuities or 401ks or whatever, but at some point in time you got to start paying back Uncle Sam some of the taxes that you're going to owe, and that's where this required minimum distribution comes in at age 70 and a half.
All right, so what do we do at 70 and a half?
What happens is you got to look at when you turn age 70 and a half, because you're going to have to start taking about 3.5% out of your actual retirement plans. And so you got to calculate this RBD, or this required beginning date. And what it does is it falls into April 1st of the year after you turn age 70 and a half.
Okay, so can you give us an example so we can...
We can, because this can be kind of confusing.
Yeah.
So let's say you turned 70 in September of last year, so 2010.
Okay.
So actually on March 30th of this year, you turned 70 and a half. That means your required minimum beginning date is actually going to be April 1st of 2012, However, you got to be careful because it could kick you into another tax bracket. Because even though you take your distribution in 2012 for 2011, you're also going to have to take a distribution for 2012.
So it's double, which means it may mean more income, which raises your
possibly kick you into another tax bracket. So a lot of times when you do advanced planning on this, sometimes we'll have people take their distribution in 2011, even though it's not required, and then therefore they only have one distribution to take in 2012.
Right. So do you have a choice? Do you have to wait and take a double in that second year, or could you take the first required distribution the year earlier in your example, 2011?
You can, and that's what we recommend for most people, because what ends up happening is just get you into that routine, because if you miss it by April 1st of the next year, you got a big penalty. But once you start it then, and then every year thereafter, you just have to make your required minimum distributions.
And how do you figure how much you have to take out?
There's a table that the IRS publishes, and it's based on your age, and it's a factor. So you just divide your account balances based on December 31st of the prior year, divided by that factor, and that gives you the exact amount that you have to take for a required minimum distribution. And don't forget, it doesn't have to be a small piece out of every IRA you have. You could just take it all from one, as long as you take out the appropriate amount.
And what do you do with the money when you take it out?
Well, you can go spend it, keep the economy going.
Good.
That'd be helpful.
That's good. Okay.
You could gift it to kids. You could, put it into other investments that don't have those required distributions down the road, or you could even purchase life insurance to do some estate planning.
All right, now, this is complicated. I get so many questions on these kind of IRA distributions. Is there a place we can get more information?
You can. There's IRS, publications out there. You can actually log onto our own site. If people want the chart, we'll be able to provide it for them for free. And we also have a seminar coming up on Tuesday, September 20th, and also Thursday, September 22nd. And we're going to cover all this information on required minimum distributions.
Very helpful. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
All right, the ABCs of RMDs. They're not as simple as 1, 2, 3. To add up how they work, talk to Jim for a spell. Call him at the number that's coming up next.
To find out more, call the Lineweaver Financial Group at 1-888-313-4009 or log on to www.lineweaver.net. Next, a checklist to help prevent prostate cancer. It's time to get up and go. An exercise minute on golden opportunities.
Hello everybody, I'm Mike Carbon from Breakout Fitness, and today we are going to do overhead extensions to work the triceps in the back of our arms. This is a great exercise because it's going to help us keep nice tight arms while also helping us get in and out of chairs a little bit easier. Ready to go, Armand?
I'm ready.
All right, we got our bands today. We're going to take the band and hold on one side, place our left hand at our left hip. We're going to place our right forearm at about our forehead, and we're simply going to extend the band up above the head and squeeze the tricep. Back down and all the way up. You want to breathe throughout the duration of the exercise. Let's try to switch sides. Right hand, right hip, left forearm on the forehead, all the way up and squeeze and right back down. How's that feel?
Oh, that's wonderful.
That's a great one, isn't it?
That's
all right,
great.
everybody, 12 to 15 repetitions, 2 to 3 times a week. And now it's your turn to get up and go.
For your copy of the exercise booklet, please send $1 for postage to Golden Opportunities, 23240 Chagrin Boulevard, Suite 450, Beechwood, Ohio, 44122.
Sports fans are happy to talk statistics like ERAs and RBIs, but mention PSAs and you'll get blank stares. Yet here's a stat that we should not ignore. Prostate cancer affects 1 in 6 men and is the cause of nearly 32,000 deaths each year in the United States. Dr. Philippa Cheatham says we can improve our batting average, and she's here to help us change the score. Dr. Cheatham's a board-certified urologist at Columbia University Medical Center and the co-founder of the Society of Integrative Urology. Thanks for joining us today, Doctor.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Can we prevent prostate cancer?
You certainly can, and as you say, 1 in 6 men are being diagnosed with prostate cancer in the United States. And there's 2 reasons why you get prostate cancer. It's your genetics, which you cannot change, and your environmental risk factors. What you put into your body can actually protect you against prostate cancer. But the Western diet has a lot of bad things in it that can increase your risk of prostate cancer, especially if you are genetically predetermined to get the disease.
Tell us about the test to find out if we have prostate cancer?
Sure. So the test, the blood test, is called the PSA, which stands for prostate-specific antigen. I actually say to my patients it also stands for patient-stimulated anxiety, because it creates a lot of anxiety for men. And there are some issues with the PSA, because you can have a normal PSA blood test, but you can still harbour prostate cancer. And the converse is also true, that you can have an elevated PSA blood test and not have prostate cancer. So we don't base the diagnosis of prostate cancer just on an elevated blood test.
What happens if we are elevated?
So if your blood test is elevated, the first thing to do is to repeat it and make sure it's repeated in the same laboratory. It should also be done in conjunction with the rectal exam of the prostate to see what the prostate feels like. Sometimes other things can cause an elevated PSA, such as a urine infection, when you last had sexual intercourse, even cycling can increase your PSA, so you need to eliminate those. And then if this is a real elevated PSA, then your doctor would probably recommend that you go on to have a prostate biopsy.
You brought all kinds of stuff here on the table. I want to make sure we get through this. What is all this stuff?
Sure. So the good news is that a prostate healthy diet is also a heart healthy diet. So I've just brought some of my favorites with me, and let me just take you through. So the green vegetables, the broccoli, the cauliflower, curly kale, spinach, these crucifer vegetables contain isofluranes, and these are prostate cancer protective.
What are they called?
They're called isofluranes.
Okay.
So this is a chemical in the green leafy vegetables, so that's a good thing to take. You may have heard about tomatoes. Tomatoes contain a very powerful antioxidant called lycopene, which is also prostate cancer protective. And pomegranate juice will kill prostate cancer cells in the laboratory.
Wow.
And men who drink pomegranate juice are less likely to get prostate cancer. And we can actually put people into remission by taking pomegranate juice. The problem with pomegranate juice, it's rich in sugar. So thankfully, there is now a natural pill that combines the lycopene from tomatoes with the pomegranate extract so that you don't have the high sugar. And that's a pill called Lycopom.
And I see green tea with jasmine. Is that something we should be taking?
That's right. So in terms of what to drink to protect your prostate, Japanese green tea is a very potent antioxidant, so it protects against prostate cancer. Pomegranate's protective, but even better is the Pinot Noir, because the grape from the Pinot Noir contains resveratrol, and resveratrol is a very powerful antioxidant and protects against the bad changes in the cell that can lead to prostate cancer. So we can, if you like pomegranate, we can even teach you how to make a pomegranate martini. That's good for your prostate.
That's not bad. Well, I could talk to you much longer because this is so important, but unfortunately we're running out of time. I really appreciate your coming in and going through all this with us. It's very important information.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, it may take years of hard work to become a major league athlete, but it only takes a few minor changes to improve your odds of beating prostate cancer. To find out more, check out the website that's coming up next. My thanks to Dr. Cheatham for joining us today.
To learn more, visit the Society of Integrative Urology's website at www.societyofintegrativeurology.org. Next, don't lose your life insurance benefits.
Welcome to Breckenridge Village, a continuing care retirement community conveniently located in historic Willoughby, Ohio. Whether it's a luxury apartment, a spacious ranch home, or newly built brownstones, it's all here with the added security of knowing more care is available when you need it. Breckenridge Village offers an exciting and upbeat lifestyle, and the food is fabulous, and our staff makes you their #1 priority. Learn more about Breckenridge Village and come see our new Veal Wellness and Aquatic Center.
Many people don't get the life insurance proceeds that they're entitled to, and that's a terrible shame. After you've paid those premiums for years, your heirs should collect the proceeds. Here to make sure your rights and your pocketbooks are protected is my law partner, Mike Solomon. Thanks for joining us, Mike. Why do so many insurance beneficiaries lose out on the benefits that they should be getting?
Well, Armin, there are lots of reasons. Some of them, for example, the beneficiaries don't know you have any life insurance, they can't find any of the policies. Or number two, the insurer doesn't know you've passed away, and they don't know where any of the heirs live. Another example might be that your heirs can't even find the insurance company because it's merged into another company or they've moved, and so they just can't locate them.
All right, so if we now own a life insurance policy, what can we do to make sure that our heirs collect?
Well, there's several things you should do. Number one, you should make a list of all your life insurance policies, and in particular, check out for like former employers who might have insurance on you that you have a right to, or credit cards or professional groups. Make sure you make that list and give it to the beneficiaries so they know it exists. Number two, you might check all your life insurance policies and update the beneficiary information and give the insurance companies information, the addresses of your beneficiaries, the contact information, telephone numbers, so they can find the beneficiaries. Number three, update your own information. Contact the insurance company, tell them where you live, your latest address and telephone number, because many times you stop making premium payments because they've accumulated some value and they don't know you exist anymore. And finally, you should make sure that the policies, that you have a copy of the policy, and maybe give it to your attorney, your accountant, or your executor so they know the policies exist.
All right, so let's switch gears for 1 second. Focus on the heirs. If the deceased person didn't do all the things that you just went through, how can the heirs find out if there was insurance?
Well, you're going to have to play detective. For example, you might go through all the papers and see if there are any premium statements from insurance companies or any checks that were written to an insurance company. And if you find the insurance application, they might list other insurance policies there.
Are there websites? I see we put one on the screen here.
Right. If you can't find anything, go to that website, the Ohio Department of Insurance website, and click on Missing Life Policies Search, and it'll tell you if there are any policies that were issued in Ohio, either life insurance or annuities. Additionally, you can go to another website put out by the MIB Solutions Policy Locator Service. That website's on the screen there, and you can go back 15 years and look for policies that might have been issued.
Very important information. Thank you, Mike.
You're welcome.
You've paid for insurance. Now make sure your family gets it. Take Mike's advice. It could mean a lot of money to you. My thanks to Mike Solomon.
Call Budish, Solomon, Steiner, and Peck at 1-888-236-5173 for more information, or log on to www.budishandsolomon.com.
Goodbye and see you next week.
Would you like to join our kitchen conversation? All you have to do is call toll-free 1-877-765-1543 and leave us your question, name, and phone number. Or log on to www.golden.tv for all the latest information and show updates.